PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast, Season 2, Episode 3. It's time for a Top 10 list. Top 10 distance learning tips for you.
Welcome to the PSD EdTech Coaches podcast for educators by educators that love to equip teachers, ponder, and discuss current issues and climate in education. With your hosts, Dan Hopman and Steve Stuckey.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us on our Season 2, Episode 3 podcast. I'm Steve Stuckey, co-host along with my other co-host, Dan Hopman.
How's everyone doing? I hope you guys are well entrenched in trying to get through to your students. I know it's been a haul so far this year, so I'm hoping you guys are hanging in there as much as possible.
Hang in there like a bat in a cave. That's what I feel like. I'm hanging in there, but I just live in my cave.
Just on that last little fingernail, just trying to make sure we're still hanging on, right? It's crazy.
This time gets a little crazier because we now have to have this grade conversation, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And, for me, it's progress report time or report card time because I find myself and I see a lot more with teachers than I am usually. And I've been asked a lot over the last week or so. And, I'm not going to speak for Steve because I don't know if he's been asked this or not, but
I'll tell you this right now. Infinite Campus stands for infinite clicks, and I've been doing plenty of that.
And no kidding. And because nothing's easy in infinite clicks and infinite campus, of course. But one of the questions that I've been asked often over the last week or so now that grading has come out is, do we give letter grades to kids? How do we assess our kids during distance learning? It is just an experience. Is this really learning? It's a really difficult question for us to answer. It really is. And for anybody to answer, you can ask, you can ask our uppers what they think. We have board policy, we've got the communique. But I'm sure as you've noticed, we have so many variables going on. Things are just different right now. They just really are. As I'm sure you've all noticed, we don't have kids in our classrooms. They're empty. Our classrooms have become this virtual environment that we still aren't really sure what to make of it. It's just different. It's confusing sometimes. You've heard Steve and I over the last few months talk about grace. And this is the biggest time right now for grace. I don't want to get into the whole philosophy on grades because, like Steve and I have said multiple times, we could go on for podcast after podcast. We like to call them our campfire chats or discussions. But in this unprecedented time, grades mean more than ever before. It isn't just the student receiving the grade. It's now the entire family. That grade is judging the work the student may or may not have done, the parent's ability to get the student to do their work, the environment the student is living in, the siblings that may be bugging them during their work time, and the list goes on and on. All these different variables. The grade has become a family grade. Grace. It's what's needed now more than ever, not just with the student, but with their support system, which includes you, all of you teachers and admin, and we're part of that as well. From the families to you, on the other side of the screen, grace is what will make things run a little smoother when we go face to face, because they'll get to know you and you'll be opened up and they'll understand that their teacher cared. I really believe our kids will eventually excel once we get this idea of grace down. Communication with the parents and working together with them is so important right now, probably more than ever. But show some grace, and you might just be surprised at what you will see out of not only your students, but also their families.
This would be probably an absolute wonderful time for people to take a step back and examine what their grading policies are. Why do I grade the way I do? Do the grades that I put in my grade book show student progress and understanding, or does it show that the students know how to do school? Why are you doing the grades the way you are? I mean, it's hard right now, as Dan says. And if you're giving a bunch of F's to a bunch of kids who are having difficulty being online, being connected, is that really showing what the kids are capable of or what they know? Uh, Maybe it's time that the district, or maybe all districts, take a step back and say, here's what grades are, here's how they're used, and here's the way we should be doing this. Because I've said it before in trainings that people don't really have, uh, well, they have grading philosophies, but they've learned their grading philosophies from the teachers that they grew up with and from their colleagues. They didn't learn it in college. So every classroom you go to, practically, you have a different grading scale and a different way of grading. But an A in my class, if it's super hard to get an A in my class, it should be just as hard in Dan's class as well. And that's just something that we all need to have that conversation. What is it that shows kids know something versus whether or not they know how to play school? Anyway,
And I know right and I know right now, like you said, it's a different time, but it's a great opportunity, like you said, to really step back and take a look at what is most important about grades, especially right now, but moving forward.
yeah, we can, and let's move forward because, as you
Oh
said,
yeah.
this is a campfire discussion along with your favorite beverage, sitting around for hours. And I don't know that we would ever solve this issue, but hopefully somebody gets going on it.
But hopefully what we have for today will help what we're talking about make it a little bit easy. So in a quest to make ourselves better and more efficient with distance learning, Steve and I have come up with a top 10 distance learning tips. Some of these we came up with ourselves, some of these we researched, some have been shared with us over the last few months, but we thought these were just some really good tips that might continue to help make distance learning just a little bit easier.
So maybe we should start with number 10, right? And work backwards, just
I
sort of
think
like
that's a great
David
idea. Yeah.
Letterman might have done it. So I think number 10, one of the greatest things that has hit educational technology and education in a long time is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is, one of the main things that it has going for it. It's easy to use, number one, and the sky's the limit on how you choose to implement it. And the big deal is, it's free, and it's always been free. You can use it in your EL classes. You can do reading responses. We've had teachers uh, use Flipgrid for reading fluency passages. You can debate topics. You can teach kids how to respond to other students' responses, and so that response and communication is happening, at least on video versus one-on-one in the classroom. Dan, what other things have you seen with Flipgrid?
With Flipgrid, we've seen fluency practices. We've seen, one of my favorite things is doing your good things in the morning, because we would love to hear all 30 kids of ours say good things. Here's a great way to get it not only collected, but a way for everyone to share. So those are just a couple ways just off the top of my head that I think are just great for Flipgrid.
You could pick a student of the week. You want to use some SEL, pick a student of the week and let them introduce why they are so special. That would be a great thing. Exit tickets, another great idea with Flipgrid. Show what you know. Just an appreciation. You do an appreciation card, so to speak. You can get families to record the videos and give encouragement from home and back and forth. Sky's the limit. Check out flipgrid.com. Check out what they have available. Tons of people, including organizations, have created things that you can use immediately and share them with your kids.
Love Flipgrid. So here we go. Number 9, just a real simple way of starting your morning with distance learning. We all have our websites that we start off with right off the bat in the mornings, and we have to sit there and open up each one. If you bookmark those and put them in a folder in your bookmark, you can right click in Chrome on that bookmark folder and open them all at once, saving you just a few seconds. And I know it seems silly, just a few seconds, but you get everything loaded all at once, and it'll save you just a little bit of time.
Yeah, you can have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday folder and have them all ready to go and just switch them out as needed. I also like using the extension called One Tab. So if you have a bunch of tabs open, you can condense them into one and save that one URL. You can send that URL and give the link to anybody, and it will open up all those tabs wherever you share it with. It is a great little extension as well.
Yeah, but getting all those tabs opened at once, however you do it, whether it's one tab or whether it's just putting them in the folder and opening them, it saves time, which I know our teachers are always looking for.
All right. So what are you ready for number 8?
I'm ready for number 8.
I hope I'm ready for number 8. That doesn't sound like I should be even doing number 8 when I say I hope I'm ready, right?
And
Number
that's
8,
true.
I titled Growth Mindset or Not. At this point, almost everybody in education has heard of Carol Dweck's, study about growth mindset. Intellectually, we all understand that hard work isn't the end all to becoming successful in classroom. People that have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset do better. But sometimes we have all of this in our head that we understand we need to have a fixed mindset, but we don't practice it. So intellectually we know, but we still give up excuses. Oh, I'm 60 years old. I didn't grow up with technology. Therefore, I don't know that I can really learn this. Or, the ones that we've always heard in classroom when your kid is struggling in math. Well, I was never good in math too. We give an excuse rather than having that idea that you can apply this growth mindset. And yes, it does take some effort, but it's not the only thing. Hard work is definitely necessary for success. Don't get me wrong, but it's not always sufficient, I guess. Okay, so a lot of people misinterpret this idea of growth mindset. They've somehow accepted the fixed mindset, even though deep down they know that they need to have some kind of change. And normally it's because we want that change to be now, immediately, and I don't see it. And I've worked hard. Sometimes you just keep making the same mistakes twice. Uh, so just remember, a growth mindset and a fixed mindset are completely opposite poles on a spectrum. So uh, almost all of us have a mixture of both in some cases, but you have to start recognizing when you stick yourself in a fixed mindset and start trying to find ways to move yourself out of that. And a lot of that happens with what we see with people struggling to do online teaching. They're fixed in a mindset of the way they used to do it in the classroom and are having troubles pushing it forward. And that goes on not only for teachers, that goes on up the ladder into administration and everything else, because guess what? They've never taught online either, and they have a mindset of how they think the teaching should be done. So we need let's go back to grace, offer some grace and allow people to experiment, learn some new ways to encourage and to get kids excited about what they're doing. And that might not necessarily be going lesson by lesson in benchmark universe.
And I love this tip because we expect our kids to be growth mindset. I mean, that's what teaching is. You're teaching the idea of a growth mindset, learning something new. That's exactly what our kids are doing. So if we're expecting our kids to do that, we need to make sure we're being that good example for them as well. So I love this one, growth mindset.
Yeah, it also though, guess what? They should not be spoon feeding this stuff too. There has to be that productive struggle. That's part of a growth mindset as well, in order to learn something new.
Yeah, and not being afraid to make a mistake. It's okay. It's okay to show your kids that you're human. It really is. All right, moving on to the next one, which I believe is number 7.
Number 7.
So number 7, using a random student chooser. Now you've heard Steve and I, we've used many of them online, but something that's pretty new is that the mobile version of Google Classroom now has a random chooser. So what you do is in the mobile app, if it's already loaded on your iPad or on your iPhone, I have not tested this on Android, so I can't talk for Android phones. But on any of the iOS devices like your district iPad, open up Google Classroom, click into your class, go over to people, and in the top right, you're going to see some shapes that look kind of weird under that menu. When you click on those shapes, it starts up the random name chooser. It'll tell you how many kids you have to choose from, how many have been selected, and you can do just like any other name chooser or equity sticks, remove them or put them back into the pile for more, which I think is just a great feature.
So you could basically sign in maybe on your mobile device to your Zoom meeting and then actually share the screen from your mobile device so the kids can see the name chooser, or you could just have it open and say, I'm doing the name chooser, hold it up to the camera and go, yeah, take a look. All right, Dan, you're up.
Yeah, when it came out, I had to test it out, and it works really well. I was very surprised.
All right, so where are we now?
We are number 6.
Number 6. Number 6, I call don't reinvent the wheel. I know you as a professional educator, you can very easily create great things for your students. You've probably made tons of great things. But you know what? So have countless other people, and they've already shared it on the internet. So guess what? Take it, modify it, make it your own. Save yourself some time, and you will just appreciate that fact. I have nothing against. I love being a creator of things, but creating everything will really bog down my planning and getting ready for the next week with my kids. So if you can do that, Google, find what someone else has already made, find some blogs that you follow, other websites that have things posted on it, and that might help. Like, ditch that textbook. Great website to give you good ideas that you can take what someone else has already created.
Edu Protocols would be a great one for that because they have all their templates on there. And nothing against teacher pay teacher, but you're paying some money for things that may not apply for your classroom. And you don't know that until after you've purchased it. So yeah, I love the idea of taking what someone else has done, modifying it and make it work for me in my classroom. I think that's awesome.
So yeah, that does take a little bit of checking it out, making sure it does apply to what you're trying to have the kids show what they know, as opposed to, I need to buy to fill up my time. I do have stuff against teacher pay teachers. That's just me, but we live in this ed tech world where we go to conferences and people share everything with us. And I absolutely love it. It helps me grow as a professional rather than my wallet not growing.
Yeah, and the idea of open source to me is just an awesome idea. I wish to me, I almost feel like some of the teachers are being held hostage. Like, here's the thing that's going to fix it for $9.99. So just remember, not always $9.99 will fix things. So keep that in mind. But yeah, no,
but it can get you a Bitmoji classroom.
That's right. You can buy your Bitmoji classroom. All right, my number 5 has to do with Google Slides. A lot of you guys are using your Bitmoji classrooms with Google Slides, or you're presenting to your class in Google Slides. During Zoom, when you go to present your slide deck, it takes over everything. So if you are running multiple monitors and you go to present, it will black out the other monitor and you can't see what the kids are doing. That's what the whole other monitor is for, to be able to monitor the kids while they're working. What would be great is if you publish that slide deck to the web, you get it all set up, and when you go to show it to the kids nice and big, it doesn't take over the other screen. So it's a really great tool. I wish I could explain to you guys over the podcast the steps to do it, because there's a few things you need to do, but reach out to some of your coaches and we would be more than happy to walk you through how to do that. But I know that's been a big gripe, is how do I still see my kids but be able to present? And that's an easy way to do that.
And then you could actually just store that published slide deck on your website that they can go back and refer back to. And you can even have it autoplay through, or they can actually manually click through that presentation at their own pace to go back and review what happened in the classroom earlier in that day or week, whenever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely check that out. It's a little trick that a lot of people don't know about. All right, so what number are we on?
We're on number
four.
4.
Number 4, and you already just referred to it, talking about your slides publishing to the web. But that is, you know what? Well, I just don't believe. I don't know how anybody teaching remotely is doing this on a single monitor. As Dan said, you start sharing something, it takes over your screen. You can't see what you're sharing. It's just a real pain. Go out and get yourself another monitor. Go check Best Buy, check Amazon. You can easily find a nice cheap one for under $100. And you're not spending the money right now on Starbucks every morning. So guess what? You can find one of these. Make sure you talk to them, get the right connectors so that you can connect, whether it's your laptop or a desktop. That gives you another monitor. So you can put up what you're sharing on one monitor and you can still see your Zoom and all your kids on the other one. It is just a beautiful thing. I struggle, like right now, I'm doing this podcast, looking at Dan through a Zoom, looking at our notes, and I have some recording software going all on one screen, and it just drives me crazy. It's like I should have just hooked up the other monitor, but that's on my other computer. So that's another story.
And I have mine right now running. So I've got my notes on my iPad, and then I've got the podcast going right here in front of me. So if I had 2 monitors, that would be awesome. But yeah, it's worth
speaking of that, your Promethean panel is a great way to teach from as well. It's not a dual monitor thing, and to be honest, I haven't figured out how to make it a dual monitor with your laptop yet. But it's on my list of things to figure out.
We'll have to try that one out because I know that would be a really big secondary monitor. That would be cool.
Awesome secondary monitor.
All right, number 3. Now, when I say this, I am not referring to Sir Mix-a-Lot and his famous song about big butts, but there is an app out there, an extension for Chrome called Sir Links-a-Lot. So with Sir Links-a-Lot, when you're in a Google Doc of some kind, Google Doc, Google Slides, Google Sheets, you open up the extension and you can force copy. You can, now I'm gonna remember all the different things it can do. You can force copy.
So what does that mean? So that means you get a link that you send to somebody or post somewhere, and they have to make a copy of that slideshow.
Exactly. So it's often where we have people that we're working with, teachers that are saying, "Hey, do you have a copy of this? Do you have a copy of that?" And then we remind them, "Okay, now remember we're sharing it with you. Go ahead and make a copy of it and do what you want to with it." With Force a Copy, it changes the link automatically for you, and you can send that to whoever you want to, and it forces whoever's receiving it to make their own copy.
So
and then
there's no more theirs. Of the editing out the edit part of the URL and changing it to copy and copying that URL. It's just bam, instant.
Exactly. And it allows you can also send them a preview link. So if you want to say, "Hey, Steve, can you preview my doc and just see if I'm on the right track?" You can send them a preview link. You can make it a template for Google Classroom. You can make it into a PDF. So Sir Links-a-Lot will help. And I've used it a few times over the last few days as we were researching doing for today. And again, not that it saves me hours, but a few seconds here and there where I can devote more time. It sure does. So the extension, Sir Links-a-Lot.
Baby got web. Right? You like that one, don't you?
How long were you waiting to say that before I was done?
I didn't want to interrupt you again, so I just held on to it for a while. And I wish I would have put in the music ahead of time so I could have started playing that right as you started talking, because I knew it was coming, right? That would have been funny. So we're down to number 2, right? Tip number 2?
We are.
I would love for everybody to investigate the idea of choice boards in education. Now, I say that because it's a broad topic and there's a lot of ways to do this, but you actually get students the choice of which activities, both learning and doing, to show their learning within some kind of grid possibility. It could be within a Google slideshow. You might put in links where you ask them to watch certain videos, read certain pages, write an essay, create a movie. They get to pick what they want. But the idea here is that you have decided what all the activities, learning and doing activities are. And so it doesn't matter to you what they pick as long as they pick them. A most popular kind I've seen is a tic-tac-toe, where teachers will put something in the middle and say, you must do the middle one. Let's just say it's for example, write an essay, but you must connect up to that middle one, whether diagonally, vertically, or horizontally, some way, and do those other activities as well that give you background information, help you learn, so that you can accomplish the one item. Students think they have an ultimate choice because you do let them pick, but you've decided what all their choices could be.
Over the years, we've talked about the idea of student agency, and this is just a great way to put the ball in their court. And like Steve said, they think that they have choice, but you're really controlling all the variables.
You know, I think something like this would work great for social studies, where they need to get some background information before they show how they understand the big idea. So you can give them those kind of things within the grid. Just look up choice boards for education. Use this for your synchronous times. You can fill in things that they need to know do it for your asynchronous time.
Mhm.
You can fill in during your synchronous time things that you believe that they should know to help facilitate what they're doing when they're not with you.
Love choice boards. So if you, again, reach out to one of us, we would love to sit down and talk to you about it. All right. Our number one thing.
This is probably the most important, biggest deal with remote teaching, distance learning, whatever you want to call it.
I think so as well. When all else fails, relax, shut down the laptop, step away, take a breath,
Take a walk.
take a walk, go bang your head up against the wall if you have to. But the idea is to remove you from what's frustrating you for a few minutes, enough to get clear. And then that way you can come back. I know a lot of times we have our students who get kicked off Zoom, or they can't see, they can't hear. And so we get frustrated on our side. Sometimes we just need to tell our kids, you know what? We're all going to do this together. I want you guys to shut down your Chromebooks, close them up, meet me back on here in 5 minutes. And that way everyone has a chance to kind of take that walk, take a breath, and just step away and collect our thoughts.
You know, one of the things that would happen, I'm going to say, normally, you know, a lot of people bring their work home with them, you know, and they walk in the door and they're still frustrated. And that's really more difficult when you are actually working from home to leave it at work because you haven't left. But if you do go outside, just maybe visually in your mind, consider taking all those worries and frustrations. It's the end of the day. Hang them up on a tree outside someplace, then walk in the house and leave it. Because guess what? They'll still be there tomorrow. And nobody else in your family needs to be listening to that and feeling the anxiety and the stress that you might be under. They need you to focus on them for a while and forget about the difficulties it is doing this distance learning.
Yeah, my commute used to be, a few miles, which I missed those few miles to clear my head before I got home. Now my commute is all of about 30 feet right behind me. And so it's just not enough time. So I found myself taking a lot of walks, going outside. Sometimes both my boys play baseball, I'll set the tee up and I will just swing. I'll take some swings on the tee, just something to get my mind off of all of this, because we have nowhere else to go. We are, for the most part, stuck at home in our own little minds. And so the more we think about things, the harder it's going to be.
Motorcycle rides do wonders.
Oh, I bet.
So you should all probably go out and buy a motorcycle.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
That might have to happen.
Okay.
No, I'm not buying a motorcycle. We do have one bonus tip that I think will apply a lot for these problems that we're talking about. And that's to remind your students to shut down their Chromebooks nightly. So we kind of make this like a 1A. Remind your kids, hey, when you're done with your work and it's time for dinner, shut down your Chromebook. Don't just close the flap, log it off, shut it down. Allow some of those resources that are on that Chromebook to free up, and hopefully we'll make Zoom run just a little bit better.
So one of the other things your EdTech coaches have started now is that we have a blog called Bytes. That's TECHBYTES. You can find it at blogger.com. And if you go to blogger.com, you can search for it, or we sent out an email within the district as well, where we try to do tips a couple times a week that might be of interest to you. Be sure to subscribe to that so you get notified when a new post happens. Check it out, please. We'd love your subscriptions. Don't forget to check out our PSD EdTech Coaches YouTube channel. We're now in the hundreds of videos, help you from everything from benchmark to CAMI to TCI to Infinite Campus and how to post your grades. You name it. It's assessments for your LPMs. We can go on and on. Check out our YouTube channel, subscribe to it, keep up to date with what's going on.
And then also don't forget, we also have our Palmdale School District webpage where we do put a lot of our videos, or you can also access our calendars if you ever need to meet with us. And that's at palmdalesd.org/edtech.
Right.
And by the way,
go ahead.
We are at 462 subscribers on our PSD YouTube channel.
So we need 800 now.
We need to get to 800. Share us out, people.
That's right.
We need it.
And of course, if you want to ever be a guest on this podcast, we're always looking for guests who have a passion about something, they care deeply and want to share those ideas and have that discussion. It doesn't always have to be something everybody agrees on, but we would love to have the conversation with you during this podcast. It makes it much more exciting for us rather than, listening to just us talk to each other.
And that's how we got Vicky Fry on our show a couple episodes ago, and she was awesome.
Hawk,
and
with Sean Hawk from Outdoor Science
Sean Hawk. So yeah, we don't want it to be the Steve and Dan show. We want to hear from you guys. We want to be able to inquire with you, and so that's just one of those ways that we can do that.
Let's have those campfire talks. Let's do a podcast while we're sitting around the fire when we're allowed to stop social distancing.
That sounds like a blast.
That could be like a 5-hour podcast trying to solve the grading problem.
We're going to see those 462 subscribers start dropping off real quick if we go that far.
Hey, maybe you all have some ideas on how to improve grades. I don't know. Maybe that's what you want to talk about. Go for it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys, though. So, if you have an idea you want to talk about, let us know.
All right. So with that, Dan, do you have anything else for the good of the order?
No, my only thing is have a great weekend and be ready for parent conferences coming up on the 9th. That's the only big thing that's coming up next.
Absolutely. Little by little, you'll get it done. And, along with those WEP forms. That's a bad joke, isn't it?
Bad joke.
The WEP forms. All right. So we're going to say goodbye and thanks for listening in. Appreciate you being here.
Have a great day, guys.
And a great weekend. Buy a motorcycle. Troubles and worries go away.